of negligence, a sin of omission right there. And God help us. We want to get out of that nasty, filthy slime called sin. That dirty trash, that stinking sewer called sin. We want to get out of it. It stinks to high heaven. And it'll stink your life to where God will not have anything to do with you if you don't watch yourself. Sin is a stink in God's nostrils. It's a rotten mess. It has been condemned. It has been judged. And it has been eliminated so far as God ever making any allowance for it whatsoever. Just because He's bearing with us and giving us a little more time and being a little more patient with us is no sign He condones what we're doing or not doing. And therefore, we want to be very conscious of that. All right, here's these good people, and we want to pray. Pray for the body. Do you pray for the body? Do you pray for the ministry? Are you conscientious in your prayers? You know, you ought to stop to think someday you're going to ask for prayer. Someday you're going to be flat on your back. Pain is going to wreck your body. The throbbing of a terrible pain in your body is going to hurt. It'll hurt. And all the medicine you can take sometimes won't kill that pain at all. And we're going to die. And no telling what kind of a condition will find us in. How long we'll have to suffer. Pain day and night. Poor old Job, for 1 solid year, his flesh was rotten with boils for a whole year. And he said, when I'm awake in the daytime, I'm suffering pain. When I'd go to bed and try to sleep, he said, I have nightmares. And I'm bothered either way it goes. Here I am in this awful mess that I'm in. And the Lord was showing us, regardless of how righteous you get, regardless of how nice you are, you're still not exempted from dying. And something has to kill you. Something has to take your life away here. And if a lingering death will help make you perfect, you ought to welcome it. If you can be ready to go in a sudden death without too much pain, too much time suffering with it, in the mercy of God, then of course that's a nice way to go out also. But however it is, we're dying from the time we're born. It'll catch up with us somewhere down the road. And there's nothing more certain. Death is a certainty. It's a certainty. It's a certainty. Read the book of Ecclesiastes, the wise man Solomon, how he described death and how impossible it was to escape it. He said there's no discharge in that war. When you go out on the battlefield of sickness and facing death and coming to the end of your days, there's no discharge. There's no discharge. You're going to stay right there until that big enemy is going to come over the hill and cut your esophagus off, and your last breath is going out of you. And the rich die the same as the poor, Solomon said. The wise man dies just like a fool. We're all headed to die. The living know that they will die. And that after you're dead, you know nothing, the Bible said. We're like water spilled out on the ground, the woman said. Neither can we be gathered back again. Neither does God respect any man's person. I don't care if you're a president or if you're a crook. I don't care if you're a preacher, a saint of God, or a low-down sinner. You're going to die. I don't care if you have an important office to fulfill and a very strategic person. Nobody on earth can take your place. You're going to die and wait for somebody to come in there and take your place and be trained to take your place. Nobody's so important that God has to lift the death penalty and let them live on this earth here. And so there's no such a thing as the righteousness of a person delivering him from death. I don't care how righteous you get, you're still going to die. And I don't care how long your days are prolonged, Solomon said, in your wickedness and sin, sometime death will catch up with that fellow. Though a sinner do evil 100 times, and his life be prolonged, way up and lives to be a ripe old age, he said, I still know that it's better to serve God, it's better to serve Him than it is to live in a life of sin. So however it comes, whenever, that's one of the certainties that we have to reckon with here, is that we've got to die. Nobody knows when or how you're going. You can plan your own death if you want to, but you're not just certain about that, of putting down a certain date for it. But at the same time, we're going somewhere sometime. Somebody said one time, said, Brother Jolly, are you trying to scare me? I said, yes, I sure am. I said, if you don't have sense enough to be afraid, I said, then I'm going to scare you. But I said, I want you to come to grips with grim realities. I want you to reckon with it. I don't want you to ignore what I'm saying to you. I said, sure, I want to scare you. And the Bible said one of the sins of the human family is there's no fear of God before their eyes. There's a lot of people that doesn't have sense enough to fear. And they don't know what to fear. So they fear a lot of things they shouldn't fear. And the very thing they should fear, they get their priorities mixed up and they go around all their lifetime afraid of something that they have no business being afraid of. But at the same time, there's a real godly virtue in knowing what to fear, when to fear, and how to fear. Praise the Lord. So we want to get our priorities straightened out here and look to the Lord for His help in these fragile bodies we live in these times. Before we pray, I want to thank you for your prayers. I have felt your prayers in my illness and my pains that I have been going through with. I don't know whether any of you have suffered any more intense pain than I've suffered. But when you suffer so much that the very best of food doesn't help you. Elihu told Job, said when a man draws near the grave, he says his soul abhors dainty foods. I don't care how dainty you make a dish for me. When my foot is hurting and it feels like I'm standing on a red hot coal of fire, I don't care how dainty the food is. It doesn't taste right, brother. I don't care how you like a chicken cooked or beef cooked or ice cream and all the nice appetizing foods that you can provide for a person. When you're standing there with your foot on a ball of fire, that food's not going to taste good at all. It'll just take all the taste out of it. I don't care how sleepy and drowsy you get. When that pain hurts so bad that you can't shut your eyes and go to sleep, you've got to get out of that bed and walk for an hour or so before you can get any relief whatsoever. I'll tell you, it takes all the joy out of living. And no wonder the Lord said, one of the greatest, sweetest blessings that anybody on this earth can have is to live a pain-free life. Live pain-free and never have a pain in your body. What a blessing. My Lord, you ought to thank God that you have a body that you can go along in for years without feeling pain at all. It's one of the most horrible things, one of the greatest things to dread, for to have your body wrecked and your nervous system so raw and hurting, and then all kinds of deformities forming in your body, and foreign bodies are forming in there. And it's just a nagging, sharp and dull pain and a sharp pain, one right after another. No wonder the Bible said in God's great eternity, there will be no more pain. Just think of that. Right now, if the God of heaven would just give us a little taste, just a few minutes, and take all the pain off the face of the earth right now. Everybody's got any kind of discomfort or pain. Just lift it right now. My, what a blessing. What a blessing. What a comfort it would be to know that you didn't have any more pain. The time is coming that around 50 billion people will live on this beautiful, remade, remodeled planet here, and there'll not be any more pain, the Bible says. What do you think of that? Are we serving a good God? Are we serving a true God, a wise God? Well, that's some of the promises, exceeding great and precious promises that's held out to a man or woman that will bear whatever comes to them now in this life and make the best of it and hope for the future and prepare yourself for it. All of that's waiting for this groaning world. Paul said the whole creation, that's 1900 years ago, he said that, the whole creation groans in anguish pain to be delivered. And he said even the creatures themselves will be delivered from the serpents of corruption into the glorious liberty of the sons of God. Think of that. It's coming. And here's where the testing takes place. Here's where sin's been introduced. Here is where we're paying, the human family is paying for their sins here. And they're suffering on the account of it. And it's a schoolhouse to be trained in. And anything that you can use to the advantage of your salvation for your soul, bear it with as much patience as you can. Take it and thank the Lord for it, because someday there's going to be a glorious release from it. Death is going to stop all of that, of course. And when you die, that'll stop that. But if it hasn't stopped it in the world, just because you die and your pain is over with, there's no sign it's out of the world yet. But God's going to, when He opens His great treasure house of goodness to the human family, there never will be any more pain, and it won't take death to stop it. He'll just simply put an end to it. The curse will be gone. And families of God's people, from the creation till the cremation, will be delivered from the servants of corruption to serve the true and the living God. Let us stand and pray together and ask God to help us to be worthy to enjoy those wonderful things that God has promised.